Good morning, people kind. Welcome back to Fresh, Slick, and Mick. This is episode 36. Where the coffee is steamy and your co-hosts are dreamy. Windsor, Ontario's finest modern millennial bro down. Pope Mickey the First. How you doing, buddy?
Fashionably late as usual. But,
yeah. Thanks a fucking lot for that. Slick Daddy, how are you? I don't want to hear what Mickey has to say.
That's why I laughed. I'm fucking tired.
Yeah.
I was on time.
You were fucking super on time, my G.
I didn't even shower.
Do y'all think that like
shit.
punctuality is a serious epidemic? Like it's a problem these days?
Can I actually touch on that? So
Please do.
I read something and I don't remember where it was. I know it was on the internet. I do remember that it looked like a very credible source, possibly could have been a credible source, although I don't know with all this fake news.
All right.
Anyway, it's something about punctuality and people who are always late. And you're rarely ever going to change those people. Like they just are always late. But they're always there and they'll stay late and they'll help and they'll pull their weight, but they're always running late because that's how their mind works. It's like, so for instance, me sitting there and prepping to go to work and me dreading work, knowing that I want to do a million other things, like makes me procrastinate getting ready for work. And then I'm late all the time. Because I fucking hate work, or at least I used to.
Sure.
But I read that somewhere. I don't know how true that is. Like, there's different types of people who are constant late and who are only late on certain days because that's them.
So I've read things to the effect of, when it's that first day of a new job, not a chance in hell you're going to be late, and I think that pretty much holds true.
Yeah.
Right. But then people's habits kind of wean away. I am fucking all over the place. Like my habit is if I say I will be there at 7:00, you can count on me walking in the door at 7:07 every time.
Right.
Every time. I just there's a little bit of ass drag. I lose my keys every day,
Right.
Whatever it is. Right. But, for work, I don't even have to be there at any one set time. I just have to be there by a time. So I show up at a different fucking time every day,
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what type I am, I guess.
I know what type I am.
Well, I used to be always early on time guy, but my life's been a fucking shit show lately.
Oh my God. So when I worked with this kid,
right.
He almost an hour early every day. And you're like, Mickey? This Mickey? Yes, this Mickey. Yeah. Swear to God. Almost an hour every single shift.
What the fuck happened to you? Do I just ruin people when I come into their lives?
That might be it.
I mean, it's a good possibility.
A few factors. I'm starting to fine tune it again. Today was just a bit of a shit show because fucking work.
Because it's you. Every single podcast, it's a shit show, Mickey.
No, I'm usually the first one here for the podcast.
No, you're not. It's a fucking solid coin toss.
Is it really? Oh,
yes.
Now it is.
My bad.
Before though, you had it in the bag. Yeah.
But I kind of got off the rails on that one, and I'm trying to get it back again. I'm showing up to work early. Are you
normal. Telling me that Mickey took it off the rails?
Yeah.
He's taking it off the rails.
Were you not showing up to work early?
No, I was mostly kind of getting there on time, and actually, we have a new boss at our new place, and they keep getting me on not clocking in on time. But I'm always early. And they're going, no. Mm-hmm. I know, it's stupid. Because I get there early, it's busy, I get on the floor, and then I look at my phone, because we have an app on the phones to clock in. I'm like, oh, well, I'm 15 minutes fucking late, but I've been here since half an hour before my shift started. Yeah. But we have a new manager, a nice guy. I think he's going to do pretty well for the company. But he's like, oh yeah, no, this half hour early thing's going to stop. I'm going, no, because I get stressed out. Even if I'm ready to go to work and I still have an hour to go, I start stressing out. I'm going, I might as well just go now because I'm ready to go.
You know what I hate is when they don't. When that karma doesn't accrue. You got a habit of being 30 minutes early every single day. And I don't know how your work does it, but hypothetically, they don't even pay you for that. You're just early. This is your habit. This is how you want to live your life. And one day you get a fucking flat and you get raked over the coals for it because you're now, 15 minutes late. There's no karma in that bank.
See, though, I will tell you, though, I will disagree because of my constant being early. When I'm not, even my employer calls me. Yo, where are you? Oh, no, I'm on my way. Okay, you're not here now, so I'm just making sure.
What I'm saying is that's not common.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you were a fucking freak case back in the day. You were so early so often that, I was actually worried about you. But, like, I used to, it's like where we work, I used to, for about a year.
ED at the end of that one.
Where I said where we used to work.
No, where we work. That's what you said.
Where we used to work.
You didn't say, wait, really?
Yeah,
Am I missing just chunks of sentences now?
So you're
fuck.
blinking out, my friend.
God, I got
But where we used to work, there was about a 6-month period where I was showing up a half hour. We started at 7:30. I was getting there for just before 7, pulling all the trucks out, getting everything loaded up first. And then, I don't know, I fucking slept in one day and I got a talking to. Not a bad talking to or whatever, but like a you gotta watch yourself, mind your P's and Q's. And I was like, I put in more time than you do every day, boss person. So I was pretty mad. And that was the end of that shit.
Well, I would say for like a year I had struggles with just life, not just getting work. It was like all related in a big circle. So that in turn affected my punctuality to things.
Sure.
And work was not a thing I was good at. But then I did end up getting a lot better. Like, I think I would be late maybe once every 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Okay.
And I remember one time, and it would be like a minute late, and it would be more like a clock in late. It wouldn't even be like I'd be at the place 5 minutes before my shift would start, and I would be walking in, and then people would stop and talk because I started half an hour later than most people, and then by the time I got to the punching clock, it's like 8:01. I'm like, fuck, right, like shit like that. But then one time I fucking stayed. A bunch of shit happened. I'm not going to go into details, but a bunch of shit happened. Shit broke down. People were pissed. I'm the only person in the building other than maybe like one other person up front. And that person was not qualified to handle any of this shit, apparently. So I handled it. And I was there for like 2 extra hours. And then the week after, I was 2 minutes late. And I got brought up. And talked to. And I was like, I just looked at my boss man and I was like, okay, next time a truck breaks down after hours, I'm walking out of the fucking building.
Yeah.
And I'm calling you and you can come back.
Absolutely. And like that's just like the worst thing any employer can do. That's when you know your employer does not give a shit about you. When they don't see your pattern, you deviate I'm messing up my terms today. You deviate away from that pattern and they give you shit for it. Like it's just
I don't know. But anyway, punctuality is.
I watched this little talk from Simon Sinek. He's like one of these like leadership guys, and his point was he discusses like the evolutionary roots of leadership and like why it makes sense in a small tribal environment for the leader to get the big cut of meat, or whatever.
Sure.
But that comes with responsibilities too. Like, you get privileges, but ultimately you are more responsible than you are privileged.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with how a lot of things work now is, nobody gets mad about their boss making more money than them. That makes sense. That's the world doing what it should do.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fine. But they also have all these privileges and the rules don't apply to them. And then furthermore, to what we're talking about here, they don't actually take care of you.
No.
By the same token. So that's the whole thing. I'll let you, have the big cut of meat, but you got to take care of me. But now they've taken the big cut of meat and there's no caretaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got to love those frequent 10, 15-minute smoke breaks.
And it's
fucking hell.
Yeah, this guy.
Well, but by the end of it, dude, I used to be pretty like, other than going out when it was slow, but before you even started there, like when I was there for a year and a bit before you were even there, like I was half an hour early every single day, and I would never smoke unless it was on break time. And then it just transitioned to like I just kind of kept getting my life was going down the drain, and in turns like I was getting dumped on at work, and things were kind of unfair, but but yeah, then I did take like 40-minute smoke breaks. Those were good times. Just fucking chewing the hours away, baby.
Well, I mean,
Tick, tick, tick. Oh, I'll have another one.
Well, it's
Time
just
to go.
weird. It's weird that it's just so acceptable to go like, yeah, I'm just going to smoke break. Oh, okay. I mean, oh, okay.
You know how sorry, can I just interject?
Yeah.
You know how I justified my smoke breaks? I don't
What?
poop at work. Everyone's going to take giant. Everyone's fucking. My boss is taking 2 30-minute shits a day
He's
on
not
time.
wrong.
Fair
I
enough.
think my smoke breaks maybe added up to 15 minutes
he's
all
still
day.
mad about it.
See, but again,
I'm not mad. I'm just saying I don't poop at work.
No,
But
no,
my issue always was, you take an extra 2 minutes on your break, and your boss is up on your ass going, "Whoa, you're supposed to be on the floor." Eat a dick. You've taken 3 10-minute fucking because smoke break is like, okay, let's go back to work. It's fucking work's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
This is dog shit. Boss is this. It's like,
Scrolling through Facebook.
yeah, it's just like, okay,
And- yeah.
And again, fine,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
take it easy on. Anyways,
Yeah.
Yeah, my smoke I would just be chilling out in the thing, and I'd see someone, I'd just put it in the tray and go help them because the bay was open or whatever. But anyway, I don't got to fucking do that now.
No, you don't. So today we're here to talk about religion and belief, which seems like a hard swerve, but really, religion and belief ties into fucking everything. So you know what? Maybe it's got to do with your workday.
yeah.
There.
Are you on time
There.
for church?
Segue.
Segue.
You walked in late to service, asshole.
I'll be like, "Where's my chalice?"
Jesus.
I'm just kidding.
Can't
I
just
don't go
ask
to
for that.
church.
Not till the end, anyways.
You ever go to church?
Yes, I am. Okay, what am I? Catholic or Christian? One of the C's. I don't know. I don't remember. I'm baptized. What's baptized? What's baptized?
Catholic.
First of all, I want to just say to everybody who's listening that myself, Slick, is extremely ignorant on every kind of religion.
Okay.
I've always been interested, just too lazy to read about it, really, honestly.
Which is surprising to me because you are specifically and educationally interested in philosophy, and that you just can't dissever those two.
And here's where I'm gonna really just take a plunge here. Philosophy already fucked me mentally a lot. When I learned a lot of when I was really into it in school, when I was taking it in school.
Yep.
And that kind of like deterred me from getting super into religion. There was a point where like I knew things, I just never read the things. I would reference things and kind of like know some sub facts and facts.
I can level with them on that because for me, philosophically or religiously, death scares the living shit out of me.
Oh, it wasn't that, man. I'm just
No.
gonna finish my thought.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like searching for truth, which is like what I think everyone searches for, and through philosophy, I drank a lot because I literally went crazy for a bit. Like before we even knew each other, this happened, right? And it kind of like religion scared me at that point because I'm like, I'm gonna dive into all these things and I'm not gonna be able to stop, so I'm not even gonna start.
If you have the kind of brain
Mickey.
that
No,
is capable of sinking deep into those thoughts, it can fuck you up. Like it can really, really fuck you up. Like you can read one sentence and it can actually change your mind or how you look at the world. Getting deep into philosophy will fuck you up.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, and religion is kind of like it's like philosophy.
There's absolutely a connection. The good news is it's far less deep.
Yeah.
At least I find anyway.
Anyway, I just want to say yes, I'm Catholic then, if that's what that
Well,
is.
you were baptized.
I was
Catholic. That
baptized.
doesn't make
No,
you a
sorry.
Catholic.
In the eyes of God, maybe.
Yeah, right.
I've been to church a handful of times. I used to go when I was younger every Christmas. I've been to baptisms. I've been to like weddings. I've been to funeral things.
Of course.
It scares the fuck out of me.
Church does.
Church scares the fuck out of me.
Now, is that because of the kind of services you've been to?
No,
or organized religion.
now this is the thing. This is my only experience with organized religion.
Sure.
I'm not religious. I don't participate in religion, obviously, as everybody can already fucking tell. Well, shocker. No. And I think it's generally organized religion, but specifically the churches I've been to, because it's like an uncomfortable. I'm probably going to upset people with this comment, but whatever.
all
An
good.
uncomfortable cult-like feeling.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That's
okay. Everyone.
absolutely
Yeah.
what
right.
it is.
that's a pretty accepted consensus.
Yeah,
on
and
that.
it absolutely gives me just death chills to the bone.
So, do you remember when we went to play volleyball at that specific church here in Windsor? And it was, you know, we were just there to play ball. We weren't there during service. They didn't do a pre-tournament prayer or anything. Like,
Sure.
we just showed up. We were basically subs.
Okay.
We kind of walked into the league because we wanted to play some volleyball. We weren't there for any kind of really religious affiliation. We just had a buddy who kind of got us in
Yeah.
for something to do.
Yeah.
It still had that weird feel. Like, I don't know if we ever actually talked about it, but like, I instantly felt weird walking in there.
Yeah.
So, and then our old boss, who was the third guy who was with us, he said, and I'll never forget this, I have never seen so much pent up male sexual frustration. And as he said that, just like out of a movie, and like he was narrating it, my eyes are panning the volleyball courts, and there's all this slap ass going on. And literally, as he said that, there's two half-clothed dudes wrestling in the sand. Like, it was the gayest place I've ever been. But of course, all of these guys, I happen to know that this church is anti-gay and anti-premarital sex. I know that from the other friend who got us in there. So, like, yeah, this is really one of those places where those tight reins makes people into weird, creepy fucking people. And that's how I feel about all of them, honestly.
Yeah, and it, like, almost, in my opinion, it's like you want to be a human, but you have these like word cages. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It limits people from being like human.
Well, and it limits people from people. Like I work with two people, lovely people. They're fantastic. Actually, one of them I want to have on the show at one point. But they are extremely, extremely religious to the point that they cannot spend the rest of their lives with somebody who does not share their religious values.
Right.
And I said though, because I spoke to the sister of the two, I said, well, what if, morally speaking, they held everything you did to the
How
same
old are
standard?
these people?
They're in their late to early 20s. Oh. So like they could have been free thinking people, but they are obviously wrapped up in their religion.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, whatever, like do your fucking thing.
Yeah,
but so I asked the sister. I said, if someone holds everything that that your religion holds high morally or through the values the same way, but without God on the top, could you see them differently? And she said yes. It just, as soon as you erase the element of God, you are no longer you're not even an option anymore. I'm like, that is so bizarre to me.
I've actually talked to girls like that.
But you look at other religions across the world, it's the same fucking thing. You cannot do this unless you convert. And that's always just been like astounding to me.
Even simple things like marriage are still the case. Like, another guy we worked with, you were in his wedding. Mm-hmm. He's like an out and out atheist.
Yeah.
And he had to go and lie to a priest about being Catholic to be able to have the wedding that his wife wanted. And his wife knew. Wow. And this is what kind of gets me. She was comfortable with him telling that lie, knowing it was a lie. You know?
Hypocrisy.
Complete hypocrisy.
And that's a great segue, because that's pretty much what I think the bones of most religions are built on, is just giant, great hypocrisies.
So, all right, hold on. So I want to put a pin in that because I really do want to hear what you have to say about that.
And please do, because like I said before, everybody remember, I am ignorant and talking out of my ass.
But that's okay, because most people are about their own religion
I'm,
as well.
I'm fucking representing those people. You guys did your research, and let's do it.
I'm just writing down that pin for later.
I've been doing research on this topic literally my entire conscious life.
Mm-hmm.
When
Past
I was
2 years. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, God.
I was unconscious still then. No, when I was a kid, I was a Christian, and I didn't have the faculties to realize that I had been baptized Catholic, though where we lived, there was an Anglican church across the street, which is far more nerfed than Catholic. I mean, you can be Anglican and be the weirdest motherfucker you want. It's fine.
Right.
They don't give a shit.
Just as
They
long
don't
as you
give a
accept
shit.
Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Dude.
Yeah,
Whatever you
pretty
like.
much. And even then, just it's English, so it's kind of in like a hand wringing, like, oh, when you get around to it kind of way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Okay, go on.
But my grandparents' church was Catholic, so I'd kind of been bounced around services. I was not a regular attender. I hated it. It took me away from cartoons Sunday morning, right?
Hell yeah.
But I very much believed. I
Really?
very much believed. And I had my little golden Bible, which had like, nice colorful pictures, and it told all the friendly stories.
It's amazing.
It had it's fucked up now when I think of it, because I know what was left out of the narrative in general, because obviously it's a condensed version for children, but also some of the stories that even did get in there were sanitized with things like the tumbling of the walls of Jericho. I don't know if you know anything about that story. The sun froze in the sky, and the Israelites blew their horns, and the fucking walls tumbled down. They wanted to conquer Jericho, right?
Right.
So they make it sound very nice, and I can recall the picture in my head that's in my little golden Bible. And the picture is these warriors in their ancient dresses. They kind of look like ancient Egyptians, if you can picture that stereotype. And they've just got jars over their torches to conceal them as they march around the city, right? It's very secret. But they leave out the swords, and they leave out the raping that is in the Bible. Like,
That's
man.
Some dark shit.
That's some dark shit. And like, that's part of that story. So what? Like, you're going to grow up thinking that's true, and then you get to that, and all that was a good thing? Why? Anyway, I wanted to be a good Christian. I really, really believed, as like we said when we were talking about conspiracy theories and shit before. I am the biggest want to believer in the world, but because of that, I can't believe in anything.
Fair.
Because I search too much into shit.
Yeah.
So all of these studies led me to basically just give up belief, because there were no legs left to stand on. And then the God delusion came out when I was like 11 or 12, and I had some sense of those thoughts, but I didn't really. They weren't coherent.
What is the God delusion?
So it's a book, fairly famous now. The first wave of what was called the New Atheists. There's nothing new about them. They were just current,
Right.
Really. So kind of in the post 9/11 era.
Right.
So Sam Harris wrote End of Faith. Daniel Dennett wrote Breaking the Spell. Christopher Hitchens wrote God is Not Great. And Richard Dawkins wrote The God Delusion. So they were called the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Okay, all right.
Which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like they think they're like, I'm not offended by this at all. This is badass as fuck.
Well, I don't know who gave them that name, but they all readily embraced it.
I bet.
Yes, they did.
Fuck, I
probably.
would.
Yeah. So anyway, those books came out in quick succession, and I was still just a little bit too young to really understand them, but they really helped me clarify a lot of what I had been thinking was fucked up about all this. And after that, it was just like, yeah, the curtain had fallen away, and I was just done with it all. But I've never lost my interest in the subject, including the texts. I studied scripture in school.
Yep.
I studied as much theology as I could without getting a degree, because that wasn't available to me at our lovely U Windsor. But
You strong. Yeah, Windsor.
fuck that. But anyway, I've just how people believe and why people believe and what people believe has always been a subject of fascination for me.
Me too. Yeah.
So
And
that said, Mickey.
you almost never get the same answer. You'll get the same answer over time, but everyone else will always give you something like, oh, I found it at this point. I found it at this point. I found it at this point. I just do. This happened in my life. But it's always kind of like a general theme. But for myself, almost zero religious upbringing.
Yeah.
I went to church. I think I was maybe 12 for the very first time.
No shit.
Yeah, I was staying with my buddy at his grandmother's place, and it happened to fall on a Sunday. One of the last days there, I had to go to church. I'm like, this is fucking weird. It was like maybe like 6 people in the whole fucking church. I'm like, oh, this is a great fucking waste of real estate.
Oh yeah.
And obviously, I wasn't thinking that then, but I just felt awkward and out of place. But I've never had the insert bad word here of growing up religiously. My grandparents were Protestant Catholic, so they eloped, and they're like, if our religions won't allow us to be together, then fuck it. I think my mom and her siblings were all baptized, but there was a point where a priest said something very inappropriate to my grandmother about, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, about an abortion because a child was not going to be born properly. He's like, oh, you might as well just abort it. And she's like, well, fuck you. I'm out. That being said, but I was never brought up, oh, religion is bad. It was just kind of open for me to experience or not. And I never did. However, in high school, my grandmother, just a sport and a half, I dressed up as Jesus for Halloween for 1 year. And I actually had a teacher. I went to public school, by the way. I had a teacher come up to me and say, do not wear your costume. I will give you 10% extra on your final grade to not wear it.
Tell me you wore it.
You fucking right, I did.
Yeah.
I went home, I lived with my grandmother at the time. I told her what happened, and she said, "Oh, you wear it." She hemmed my costume because I am too short. And there was a impromptu costume contest, and I won.
I have a great story about religious
I felt
costumes.
so bad about that, though.
Oh, please.
I'm
tell.
sorry, you just reminded me.
Go ahead,
so
go ahead.
back in the day when Slick Daddy here used to partake in the booze events,
Yeah.
I went to the beer Olympics.
Beer Olympics.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of dudes, and it's a big shit. Well, there's some chicks there. Yeah, it's like a bunch of games, and you get a partner, and you have to dress up as that country.
Okay. As that country?
Yeah, like so. It's like me and you would go, and we're Italy. So we got to be soccer players. Or
I can
something.
see a lot of PC issues here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was not
Very quickly
this is
problematic.
not a 2019 because it's all just
Stereotypes.
just
Yeah.
Oh my
But-
god.
So me and my cousin Slow Bro, we go to the beer Olympics and we dress up as the Vatican and we're the Pope.
Nice.
We're both the popes.
Okay.
And we made like chains that said 2 popes. Like 2 chains. Yeah, and we had staffs. We did the hats, the robes. We
Nice.
had gold everywhere. Oh, it was hilarious. And we're playing beer pong. It's 2 popes playing beer pong.
hilarious.
I fucking love it.
Yeah, that's what.
Did you have the hats? The big
Yeah. Oh yeah, we had the big hats, man.
Amazing.
We had everything.
Where did you find these Pope
We made
costumes? Damn.
We fucking made the Pope costumes. I should get a picture. There's a picture out there.
I would love to see that.
Drunk ambitions.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it was. If I just spent that amount of time working. Oh no. Anyway, you just reminded me of a
No, it's all
great
good.
religious costume. Go on.
But and then most of my life after high school, again, I had very little religious anything. I didn't have conversations. There were a couple of times where I may have stepped out of line. I can very much recall, I think I must have been 8 or 9, and I realized, oh, Easter is when Christ supposedly died or whatever, and
Doesn't he come back? Doesn't he? Yeah, he comes. Okay.
Yeah.
I boastfully and gleefully said, "Happy Death of Christ Day."
Oh.
My mother did not take to that very well, but there was no, don't say that because God this, Jesus that. It was just like, no, that's not appropriate. That was it.
That's weird that you say that, actually. Building on that, I grew up, my parents also were not like heavily religious, but they did believe,
Okay.
or they do. I don't really know. I don't talk to my parents about this anymore. And this is
Interesting.
why. Because I would bring it up in my early 20s with like philosophy and everything. And it's like, and this is ignorant me coming out. I don't even have to, at this point, I don't have to read the Bible. Like, I don't have to read any text to know it's just shit. And I just use an example of like just how the world is shit. Mm-hmm. So pretty much,
I'll just say, use the walls of Jericho. It's a perfect example.
well, yeah, I didn't know that story. I've never read the thing. Anyway, so
I've got a whole book full of them.
That's
so-
the Bible.
so in my opinion, everything's shit. I'm 21, and everything is dog shit. The world is a lie. and everyone buys into it. That is where my life is at, and I'm just partying every day because I don't give a fuck. It's all a joke. It's all a joke. Like, you're already born and set to fail.
Sure.
Before you're even thought of. That's where my mind was. So religion, yeah, right. Like, I'm even gonna fucking pay attention to it because it's wash already. So I would be talking to my parents about it, and like, well, like, you guys don't even go to church. Why do you? Because I would say, God damn it, and they didn't like me saying God damn it.
Come on.
Yeah, this was a while ago, and since then it doesn't affect them anymore.
Okay.
Because I was like, you guys don't even go to you don't go to church.
Now, was it the God part or the damn it part?
It was God's name in vain.
Well, yeah.
Fuck off. Okay.
And I'm like,
so, see, that's what I'm like,
does it bother you? I was like, does me saying God damn it bother you? And they're like, a little bit. I'm like, why? Because God's name in vain. I'm like, you guys you don't do anything. You don't go to church. You don't, celebrate it. You got like one cross. I've never, I don't even know if you have a Bible in the house. And they were brought up obviously in a different time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess it just resonated just kind of like that. It just internally was like, you don't say that. Even though we're not, you just don't say it.
When I was a kid,
It's weird.
I was, like I said, deep in my own personal size. I'll tell you two stories real quick. One, fucking weird. So we had that Anglican church across the road.
Right.
And for a short period of time, my mom got it in her head that we were going to go to church.
Perfect.
I don't know how many months it lasted. Definitely not a full year. But she sent me down to Sunday school. And it's me. So, I mean, like, y'all think that, like, I became... What?
Dude, I went to fucking Sunday school too.
Okay.
I literally
I wanna hear
just
that.
I don't even know about it because I just remembered that I did it. By
That's
you saying
wild.
that. That's weird.
That's fucking
Yeah,
wild.
go on.
Like once or a lot of times?
I think only a couple times.
Okay.
But still.
Okay,
Wow.
so y'all think that like the world has made me jaded or like I got my heart broke. No, I was an asshole as a kid. I went down to this fucking Sunday school and I remember seeing there's like I'm probably 7 or 8 and they had I remember they had stickers and like crayons and shit and they got like coloring books and they were doing something with the ark the day I remember, so Noah's Ark and all that shit.
I know that one. I do know that one.
And they were doing like lessons, but as you were doing the lessons, something to do with like the picture and
Right.
As children learn, whatever. This was obviously below my grade at any academic standard, but I was expected to just do it because it was the thing they were doing for the kids, and I just remember thinking like, this is so fucking stupid. So I left, and like. I have no business. I'm not supervised or anything. I just walked out and I walked back upstairs and I saw my mom and I looked at the door and I'm like, I can see our house from inside the church. Like the cartoons are right there.
Yeah.
And then my mom saw me. I don't know what made her turn around, but she fucking saw me and she's like, come here. God damn it. I was almost out.
I bet you it was God that turned her around.
That's probably what it was. That's probably what it was.
Oh man! Speaking of religion, though, we do have a special guest in here. We have Mickey the Pope.
Make it a Pope. Make it a Pope.
The Pope.
The most illegitimate Pope ever.
That's fine. I never knew because you kind of have that sort of sassy attitude about religion that a lot of people in our age group do.
Sure.
So I never realized that you had like zero religious upbringing. That's wild.
For me, it was just, I guess for you, as you learned through it, just illogical. I'm like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't care.
Well, it doesn't, especially if you reach the age of reason outside of it and then someone tries to tell you about it. Yeah. It's different if you grow up in it and you're kind of indoctrinated
Sure.
and your default settings run on Christ. But like if you grow up without it and then someone tries to tell you about it, like what the fuck are you talking about?
I work with, like I said, I work with a couple other religious people. I have some people who are born agains, and again, you know what? Fuck it. They're some of the fucking worst because they will judge you so harshly because they turn their life around. In my experiences, but some of them, they want to have these discussions with me, and I'm like, fine, I'll do it, but understand that if you really want to have this conversation with me, I'm not going to be a dick, but I'm not going to really hold my punches. You want to talk? We will talk. I will explain why I don't believe in what you believe in. And again, so they'll go like, oh, your God has a plan nonsense.
Right.
Absolutely not. Oh, it's a test of faith. It's a test of fucking reasoning as a human being. If something is constantly shitting on you, you go, oh, it's just God's plan for what?
Right.
No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to hold my punch. However, I will never bash somebody for believing in whatever. Because I think that's just as bad as someone trying to push a religion on you.
Yeah.
No, I see.
Just for me, just for respect.
Maybe it's the way we use the terms. I will bash the shit out of someone's religion. Absolutely. But I won't bash them for having religion.
Yeah.
Because I think we all believe things for bad reasons.
Sure.
And I try not to. I do my best. That's most of what I do on a daily basis is just thinking about shit. But, it's impossible not to, and I'm sure I'm wrong about a lot of things.
Yeah, and saying that, I always looked at it like this. I will not really pay attention to you. My eyes will just glaze over, man.
Me specifically?
Over. No, like if you're talking religion to me, right? Like if you're, I'm not going to bash your religion.
Right.
Or I'm not going to bash you. I'm not going to bash your religion either because, well, I just don't know enough about it where you can do that. But if you talk to me about it, my eyes just go blank. I'm not listening. I'm not going to listen. I mean, maybe if you paid me a lot of money, I would listen. But the only time, I guess I'm contradicting myself here. The only time I would bash someone for their religion is if they're doing obviously bad things.
If they're doing harm.
But if that religion makes you a good person, like you truly believe it and you lead a good life and you do many good things and you're like good parent, you're a good friend, you're a good family member, and because the backbone of what you believe in is being legit good person because of your religion, that's great.
It is great. It is great, and it's great that someone has that kind of compass. But what I disagree with is that if their religion disappeared overnight, that they would suddenly become a piece of shit.
Right, but I don't think if it's that ingrained in them that they would.
But he does make a good point because there are people who solely believe the reason why they don't do bad is because of religion.
That's a fucked thing.
As if there's this cosmic finger wagging over your head.
Yeah.
But I don't really believe that, and I don't believe that I have too much faith in people. Here's something you won't hear me say a lot. Nope. I have too much faith in people to believe that they believe what they say they believe.
Wait, what?
I don't think, I'll say this to all of my religious friends, or even spiritual. Fuck that shit.
We'll disagree on that one later.
I don't think that people truly believe what they say they believe because they would act differently if they did.
Yeah, okay. I follow that. I dig that. Spirituality, you don't like that either, eh?
I don't. Let me clarify before you fucking jump on my dick.
It's already happened.
It's going to happen anyways, let's be honest.
I'm not religious.
That's why I'm drinking this coffee. I don't like it when people use spirituality as a caveat to have unclear beliefs that they can't justify, can't qualify, can't really tell you anything about, but they just want to have this warm, fuzzy feeling, and they want to use that as a reason to say that something exists. Now, again, it's something that someone wants to do in their own space, their own privacy, whatever. Go for it. I don't give a fuck. But people have a lot of wonky beliefs, and you've got stores like selling crystals and feathers and things that don't do anything and saying that like this will heal your space. Like, fuck you. You're an idiot.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of have to disagree with parts of that.
Okay.
I think there is a little bit more science than you know about regarding some of those things. I'm not saying like, yeah, I'm going to the rock. I'm buying every rock because it's going to make me better in my head.
Okay.
But I do think that certain elements will play on. It's like copper. if you do have copper on you, it's going to do something. I don't know what it does, but it does do something to you.
Copper toxicities will probably, well, actually, essentially, it'll kill you.
Yeah, copper, and it can do bad things to you, but it can also do good things.
Less, not enough
like if you
copper.
store food in copper or something, I heard, or maybe that's iron as well. Like you cook in an iron pan, you get iron.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you're okay. I know what you mean.
It's
Okay, but there's nothing spiritual about that.
No. But you're saying selling rocks and feathers and stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
I see
you can
where
take
he's
from
going.
elements.
There are
science.
Absolutely.
Right. So some spiritual things are just kind of like science.
Right, but
Right? But
So
there are the
here's a quick little thing.
Yeah.
People like quartz. Quartz is a big spiritual stone, and drawing energy, projecting energy, and all that fun
Okay.
stuff. They do use in certain cell phones quartz.
yeah, using in watches too.
So
Yeah.
that being said, talking about the science part, I'm kind of taking the both now. So
Yeah.
So it's like, does it draw the energy, pull the energy, push energy? But if we ourselves do produce electricity to some degree, what is that stone taking from us or giving to us? If in fact it is used on small devices like a phone.
But both of you
thought.
guys are talking about things that can be empirically tested.
Yes.
No, yeah. But a lot of spiritual things, or at least spirituality, because I really believe. Okay, so I sat in, and this is also me completely talking out of my ass. I am not claiming that I know anything about any of this shit. This is just me living my life and seeing what I've saw.
Sure.
So when I think
Shut
spirituality,
the fuck up.
exactly. when I hear like that word, I think of more of like connectivity. Is that a word? Connectivity, like being more
Yeah.
connected to the planet and the people and the vibes. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that little. No, I just love talking. Okay.
No, but my gut reaction, and I want you to continue, but my gut reaction is, what the fuck does that mean?
His gut reaction is to.
It doesn't really mean anything.
heat.
I think it's more. Okay, so I sat in on some ceremonies with some indigenous elders, right?
Okay.
And it really opened my eyes to some of like what they said during it, because it. Like I don't want to just say words, but it was like it's spiritual. It's
was
like a spiritual.
moving.
It's like a connecting thing. It was very moving. Like everybody's connected. We're all connected through the water and the earth, and we really are.
Yeah.
We use Earth's resources every day
Sure.
to live, and like I guess that's kind of like their religion. But like I don't want to say that because I don't know.
From where you stand, your understanding of that
That's what
ceremony
they
was.
they kind of believe. That's their belief, and that's how they live their life. But it's very holistic compared to like what I've experienced in religion. So
Yeah.
I look at that route on the shit I sat in with the elders as more of a spiritual thing.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Not really a religious thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I understand.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is when I look at spiritualism, it's more of a being connected with the earth and the people around you and using those like quartz and just like knick-knack thingies
Knick-knack thing.
and bringing them into your environment. Now, just saying, I think it's Fingerprint of the Gods or Handprint of the Gods.
Fingerprint of the Gods.
Is that it? Have you read it?
Graham Hancock?
Yeah. No, you should read it. I have not read it either.
Educate yourself, Fresh.
And I should read it. But apparently it's all about atoms that you're built of, molecules and shit vibrating, and how everything has a frequency that it vibrates on. And you know all this shit because I've probably talked to you about it, and you probably just found it on the internet. But there is some scientific backing on bringing certain things with a certain frequency into your environment near you, and it.
But if in fact, yes, that's science based.
Exactly.
You can measure this.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's the whole point. So
Yeah.
it is intrinsically not supernatural.
It's
It
real.
is natural.
Okay, so I think this is where you're mixing things up. I don't think spiritual. Well, okay, sorry. In my opinion, when I hear you talk about spirituality, I don't think it's any reference to supernatural. I think it's about
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
working, like I said, holistically, living a holistic
Like
kind of life.
looking at what you have in front of you and working with that instead
Being-
of looking outwards to nothing.
That and like it's the whole life thing. Like internally, you want to feel at home in yourself, and by doing that, you need to connect to others and the world around you. And I guess this kind of goes off of what we were saying about growing up in religion and having those binding words, right? People who grow up like I did, now I crave that holistic kind of like spiritual connection to the earth and kind of just live a more simple life.
Yeah.
And be a good person that way, not with the wagging finger of,
Right.
supernatural.
I guess it's a matter of terms, as so many things are. And that's kind of frustrating because people like us don't have that. So whereas you're comfortable to fall back on spirituality, I'm not, because I know that while you might mean that, and that's great. Now I know what you mean when you say that. That's not what most people mean.
No, exactly. And I do want to say sorry. I just rambled there because
okay.
I don't know the correct terms.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like I don't know
the
what
thing is they're not correct, and that's I think that's kind of the whole point of spirituality, air quotes, as it's used in a common modern sense, is people use it so they don't have to be clear, they don't have to be direct, they don't have to qualify anything. And nobody owes me an explanation of their beliefs, but if you're going to talk to me about it, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Fair enough. Right. Like,
interesting, through the research, almost nothing talked about spirituality. It really just stuck to religion. I found that really interesting because we kind of get to a point through the research where it kind of starts talking about like switching religions and stuff like that, but they just don't talk about spirituality, which I found really weird.
Can we just like find the actual definition of spirituality?
Well, the thing is, so I was looking it up, and there really isn't one. And that's kind of telling, I think.
Yeah.
I found this link that had sort of a little bit of a clarity to it.
Is it a spiritual clarity?
No, one of those lovely Google answers. But whereas religion is a set of texts, practices, beliefs about the transcendent shared by a community, involves a relationship with God, spirituality, on the other hand, is about a person's relationship with the transcendent questions that confront one as a human being. The transcendent questions that confront one as a human being. This may or may not involve relationships with God. But even that, like, first of all, that's the most generic thing I've ever heard.
So pretty much it's like you believe there's a higher power, you just don't know what it is.
Not even that necessarily, man.
Okay, fair enough.
The only hitch in that whole thing that makes you have to discuss supernaturality is the word transcendent.
Yeah,
and what does that mean? How does
word.
it? Yeah, it's a great word, but how does it transcend? Like, what does that mean? Does it transcend daily life in that it relates to your whole life, or in that it relates to the whole world? Or are you talking about something more? And at that point, what are you talking about?
It sounds like you're talking about acid.
Yeah, man, that's it.
When I hear like, oh, transcendent, I was like, okay, take some more shrooms, enjoy your life.
Like here's a definition: the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul, as opposed to material or physical things.
Right.
Which, I mean,
Kind of like
that
Buddhism?
definition makes me a very spiritual person, but I'm not. You know,
Well, I don't know. Like if you're not, because it just sounds like to me you're boxing it in with supernatural, and that's why you're not.
You're right, but what I'm doing is I'm taking common usage.
Okay,
and
right.
in the same way that I don't wear a badge that says atheist, I wouldn't. I don't like labels. I don't want labels.
Right.
He has knuckle dusters that say atheist when he punches you in the fucking face.
But like what you're talking about being close to the earth and the human community and the cosmic community, I feel all of those things very deeply. I have literally hugged trees before.
I have too.
I'll do it again.
It's beautiful,
dude. Touching.
Awesome.
This is the thing. This is why I don't want to go camping with my girlfriend, because she's going to want to do stuff and I'm going to want to just like feel nature, because I really, really believe in that. And I believe it's really healthy. But does that make me spiritual? I don't think so. I think that makes me as natural as possible.
They've actually done studies on actually going out into your backyard if it's grassed with no
Barefoot.
socks, barefoot.
Yeah, the barefoot
for
thing. I've
half
heard this.
an hour, and it just you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think you guys ever come to my house in the summer? I'm never wearing shoes. My feet are dirty as shit.
You know, I never noticed that, but
Take a look next time.
I
As
think,
soon
like,
as it gets nice out, I'm never wearing shoes.
when we're in the garage, I think you slip on some slip-on sandals, so you don't step on
'cause, like,
anything. But
yeah.
other than that, you're fucking.
Like if
in
I'm
your-
outside, I'm always barefoot all the time.
Oh, how about that?
And I'm as close to naked as possible.
But can't nature and spirit? They're kind of like one.
They can, and they can be, and you're absolutely right. But again, that's where it becomes more personal definition. So I fully accept and understand your definition.
No, yeah.
But as I said before, I don't think that's the way that word is commonly used. Like when people talk about Reiki and shit like this. Look, I understand.
Okay.
I understand that these things seem to make a degree of sense. The problem is they cannot be empirically tested. And they cannot be shown to be at all better than the placebo effect.
Right.
So what the fuck are they? Are they just the placebo effect? Because if that's the case, I'm going to just tell myself I feel better.
No.
And there's always, there's studies on that. Because, people can think themselves sick sometimes.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. 100%.
And how stress can not affect you then, but can affect you later. Very much so, but those are the very few things in that can be tested. Mm-hmm. Which is again now it's hard but now again, like I've said, just if you're gonna do it, just don't be a dick about it. Like really, if you kind of sense in the room that people are into it, just dial it back. It's nothing against you. It's nothing against your religion. Nothing against your beliefs. Just no one's down for that.
You know what? I got a little story about that kind of.
Sure.
So I went to a cabin in the summer.
Was it in the woods?
No, it was on the lake. Cabin on the lake.
Okay.
Sequel.
Cabin in the woods.
Yeah, we all
Cabin in the
died. I'm actually not here, but my soul is. No.
Fuck.
Test that, motherfucker.
That's that bitch. No, so I'm in this cabin with a bunch of friends, and we're having a great time. And me and this one guy go out on the canoe, and we've never really had one-on-one time. It's more of like we'll play some cards together, magic cards, not poker. And
I was thinking euchre.
definitely not fucking euchre. Anyway, we'll like kick it, but when we're always kicking it, we're in a group of people, right? And they know I'm plant-based or vegan or whatever the fuck you want. I eat plants. Like, that is what I eat.
Sick.
And we're in this canoe, and we're talking about shit, and he's trying to pick my... Like, I notice that he's trying to pick my brain, right? Because he's interested in some of the things I do, but
Okay.
we'd never had this, like, one-on-one time to chat.
Is this a buddy or is this...
This is a buddy.
Okay.
And coincidentally, his like wife, his wife, they're married, was there too. And I'm an early riser, so I'm up at like 5:30 sometimes.
All right.
She's up. She was pregnant at the time, so we would spend 2 hours before all these other hungover people got up,
Right.
and we would just kick it, make coffee, make breakfast, and she's a lovely person. And then so me and him got to spend some time, and after talking for like 5 minutes, he goes, "Man, you're the chillest vegan I've ever met." And I'm just like, it just resonated with me. Still to this day, obviously, because I'm telling the story, but it has to go with like your beliefs and religion and all that stuff. It's like, I don't preach it and I don't talk about it unless I'm asked about it. And I kind of feel like that's kind of the way it should be with like a belief thing. Like, I don't like when Jehovah's Witness motherfuckers come and knock on my door.
Don't
I
ask,
love
don't
it.
tell.
Like, I love it.
Do you know
Come
what I
in.
do?
Let's do this.
I know you know what I do? I sit at my kitchen table in the window and I smoke. And I just look at them as they're knocking at the door and I'm not moving. And I'm just like, no, man, I am not going out there.
No.
I'm not doing it. Because I don't want to be an asshole and tell them to go fuck off. I don't have that in my bones, so I'm going to sit there and not say a fucking word for half an hour, with my door halfway open because I'm too awkward. I don't want to invite these people in. I'm not standing out there. I'm not putting my coat on for these people. Anyway.
Eddie Griffin's got an old bit where he talks about how he likes to fuck with the Jehovah's. So when he was a kid, he fucking would light a bunch of candles, sit down naked just with a chicken over like a dead chicken over his dick, and open the door for him. Just watch him go.
Oh my god.
Fucking hell.
Anyway, so I just told that plant-based story because it was just nice to hear that, because Well, a lot of the shit that a lot of like vegan people do, and I guess religious people, is these protesting things, and some of them I actually support, but it's like the extreme ones that I'm like, you're not gonna win anyone over with that one. You're gonna make them hate you more. You know what I mean?
Like the people outside of abortion clinics going, don't do this.
That's a perfect example. The abortion protest thing.
But it's, I mean,
like if their goal is to try to get more people on their side, like, oh yeah, those guys, all those really old people with those signs are right. Let's go join them.
Let's go hang out with them.
They're failing
great
hard.
people.
Yeah,
because no one wants to do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's I guess with the vegan thing it's when you're inconveniencing someone's life, that really has no, that you shouldn't really be pushing something on.
Sure.
I don't think it has the positive outcome that you're trying to get. I think there's other ways to get there other than some of the methods that people use. Well, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I've always said that about both of those things.
Exactly.
I don't think you're gonna win any hearts and minds to logic and reason by being you're fucking stupid for believing that.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're gonna make anybody stop eating meat by being you're a piece of shit because you eat meat. Like, okay, cool. No one wants to listen.
Yeah,
to you,
I'm gonna go eat more ribs.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Mickey?
While he was talking about how not to get the message across, you and I have had many a conversation as to why changing to a more plant-based diet is good for the future of the planet and stuff like that. Where, like you said, but then before I even got out, you said, logic and reason will almost never win anybody over because, God forbid you hear the fucking truth. But I just, at some times where you just kind of, you have to go, listen, you need to pull it back a little bit with the methods that you're using. I guess the good example is meat, or we will not sustain life. Just as simple as that. And then people kind of backlash at that. They're like, but no, we're past beliefs at this point. We're not talking about beliefs. We're talking about fact. And it's just so weird that how quickly someone will believe a belief, but a fact is just, oh, God forbid. I can't listen to facts because that totally goes against what I believe, which is bizarre. As a logical thinking person, I guess.
But you are making such a good fucking point, and to draw a line with what we were just talking about, the abortion thing, the people who protest abortion, they don't want to accept the facts. These are statistics that when you have safe and legal abortion, abortions on the whole go down.
Yeah.
That just start there.
Yeah.
Let alone women's health, let alone women's safety, let alone women's right to choose what to do with their own fucking bodies.
Too. Now, I've actually been listening very hard to when people start talking about the abortion thing because, again, we're kind of a little off track with politics, but you just hear like, we're gonna curb abortion clinics for whatever reason, and they go like, oh, they're anti-women, and then you listen. Their platform is about spending now. It's like, no, we don't believe that the government should have to pay for this. I'm like, I don't agree with it, not by a fucking long shot, but and now unless they're masking that under that, going like, oh, I don't like that.
They are.
But to one degree or another, like I remember, I know you're not the biggest fan of Jordan Peterson, but he just openly talked about abortion. He's like, it's not natural. But people go like, oh, he's anti-women, anti-that. I go, he's not wrong. It isn't natural. It's not natural to have an abortion. But like that's kind of like that's just the point. And then you extrapolate from there. Absolutely.
But the thing is, Jordan Peterson sneaks a lot in.
Yeah.
And to say that abortion isn't natural, like dying of a high mortality rate in childbirth, that's natural. Do we want to talk about what's natural? Because what's natural sometimes sucks balls.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. If we can fucking prevent it, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
So two things. One on the natural things, like sometimes, and I'm going to say some bullshit right here. But sometimes I'm like, oh, is it okay? Yeah, it's not natural. But is it natural? Because if humans are natural, and the thought of abortion came from our mind, and we put it using tools that came from the earth.
I come back to this.
Do you know what I mean?
The time,
everything
dude.
comes from the fucking
all
earth.
The fucking time.
In turn, Almost everything is of natural origin.
Thank you.
Well, and that's what, and you know what? I would love it if we could materialize that and shove that down people's throats so they can choke on it, because there's people who, like they go, oh, we'll heal with the power of prayer. And I'm going to take this right out of fucking Family Guy, but they did a whole episode on that. This kid has fucking cancer. Like, oh, we will heal him with prayer. It's like, if your prayers have been answered with fucking medicine, per se, why don't you use it?
Right.
Well, so for example, there's we're all familiar with Mother Teresa. We at least know the name.
Yeah.
I know enough, yes.
Oh, she was a horrible person. I don't know if you know this.
No.
Yeah, she was fucking trash, and she also didn't believe. Her memoirs towards the end of her life, I believe they were published. She doesn't even believe in God anymore.
Oh, well.
And I mean, she's been dead quite a while now, but so she was fast tracked to sainthood, right? So
Okay.
she could be,
Yeah.
To try and cover up all the mess she made, but yeah, anyways.
Well, no, just because she was a good and modern figure. There weren't a lot of new saints. The Catholic Church is struggling to stay relevant. What have you? Take it wherever you want, but you have to have 2 miracles to your credit to be sainted, to be canonized, right? So how the fuck do you do that, right? Well, one of the things was she had it was like a fucking coin or something that she had touched, and supposedly it cured like a stomach cancer in this woman. And I might be fucking the details up here, but the main point remains. So this woman's stomach cancer, let's call it, went away, right? After the laying on hands of this icon of Mother Teresa after she had died. And then they interviewed the woman's husband, who said, yeah, she was undergoing modern medical treatment.
No,
she just got better,
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of shit like that behind the scenes. Like, yeah, we'll pray for you. Are you going to stop going to the hospital? No.
Can I now I really want to make this segue because it's dope.
Please.
You were talking about politics, and you said it was kind of a long shot, and we're talking about covering it up and stuff. Well, it's not really a long shot. What are your views on mixing politics with religion?
Separate church and state. Sorry.
Yeah. You know what you're separating your mouth and the fucking microphone too much.
Separation of, well, I spoke really quiet.
Mickey's in another room.
No, 100%. I want a separation of church. And
Okay,
state. There should be zero affiliation to that. And
Okay.
actually, hold on, because we haven't even got to the goddamn facts
Yeah,
yet.
Mickey's got some stats for
Mickey
us and
has
shit.
got some facts.
So
Facts.
where is the in the Guardian?
Sorry.
Nope. Hold on. Come back to me. You guys keep talking. I gotta
Oh,
find it.
all right. Anyway, what do you think?
So I think that, yes, politics and religion should be necessarily disentangled. And I also think that because of the nature of what religion and politics are, which is both concerned with people's lives, that is impossible to do. So you have to codify it, you have to put it in law that keep this shit out of it, and then you have to watch for it at every turn.
Yeah, because it's way too much in there.
It's way too
Oh man,
much.
it's fucked up.
So that's how you get things like the conservative right, who politically say, oh, we're for individual liberty and we want people to be able to do what they want in small government. But this is the same party that believes in intrauterine government. We're going to tell women what to do with their own bits.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Like, you fucking hypocrites.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes back to me saying earlier on in the episode, it's based on giant, great hypocrisies.
Absolutely.
Politics and religion,
Yeah.
almost one and the same.
Was that you bringing it full circle? Because that was fucking smooth.
Maybe it was. That's why
I
they call
liked
me
it.
Slick Daddy.
Yeah, maybe.
No, yeah, I've always thought that. I've always I had some interesting, before you get to the facts, I had an interesting conversation with a more older generation. Oh, it was my parents, whatever. and my mom is like the sweetest person in the entire world. She's awesome. And she just grew up in a different time.
Sure.
But she's very open to listen to me. She listens to me bitch all the time. Like, oh man, God bless her soul.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about religion, but and she's upset about the Merry Christmas thing, and can't. Okay, here we go, because we're gonna open some shit.
Here we go.
You can't say Merry Christmas, and everyone's like, "Oh, we'll fucking say Merry Christmas." I'm like, you can't. You can't in a public domain. you can't do it. Like signed, right? You can't have it. That's the law or whatever. What is it then?
You say whatever the fuck you want.
You can, like, a store can put it up, right? But like a municipal building or anything like that cannot. Any government, they have to have happy holidays. I'm pretty sure.
They don't have to have anything.
Oh, there's nothing in there. I thought there was like a bylaw or something that like you can't put things on public display or
this
something.
Is where it gets sticky. You start talking about cultural traditions, right? So now we're in this weird post-colonial world, and I mean it's good that it's post-colonial.
Oh yes, fair.
But you've got nations that are growing up with the fruits of their colonization, and they have these minorities that they don't know what to do with. So certain groups see the publicization of those minority beliefs as a really good thing because it's representation for them, and that's a fine thing. That is good. Yeah, let's show off what we got. These are people, but they don't account for the fact that these are often religious things. They're not just cultural things.
Yes, yeah.
So they're the same people that'll say, you can't say Merry Christmas, that's oppressive, or whatever the fuck ever. Yeah. But they want to put up, I don't know, fill in the blank of minority religion. And it's like, no, you don't get that either.
Yeah, no one gets it.
No one gets it. No one gets it. But let's be honest. What we're talking about in Windsor is a bunch of 60-year-old fat white men who are mad because
all so mad
that someone at Tim Hortons didn't say Merry Christmas. And never mind that the Tim Hortons people have been mostly brown for the last 20 years.
Yeah, and like 15.
And children.
So, and so I explained this to my mother, and I said, Mom, they're not taking, we celebrate, Christmas, whatever.
Yeah. Nothing's been taken from you.
First of all, our Christmas is bullshit Christmas. It's materialistic Christmas.
Yep.
That's what we celebrate. It's getting shit and having dinners and connecting with family again. And that's all. Like, it's not a religious thing for my family. So automatically I'm like, why are you even concerned about it?
Right.
Secondly, I'm like, if we're like a true not melting, but a mosaic of cultures.
Sure.
You can't just go up to some dude and go Merry Christmas, because that's unless you're accepting of them wishing their holiday on you.
Yeah, which you should be.
100%. I agree.
I don't know if I said it on this, but I told you the time I took a cab home with, I took a cab home, and me and the cabbie, and me, I just chatted up with these guys. The dude gave me a Quran because he enjoyed my company. Like, you know what? This, that, bless you, bless your family, God bless. I want you to have this. I'm like, cheers, bro.
He gave you a whole ass book?
He gave me an actual book. Like an English translated Quran.
This motherfucker can talk.
Yeah, he can.
But I just thought it was a very nice gesture. I said, thank you. And I got out of the cab and that was it.
Sure.
Cool. I can't say Merry Christmas. Okay. And it's funny you brought up, culturally, Canada is, like, if Canada had a culture, it was to embrace everybody.
Right.
So when it says, hey, it's a happy holidays to embrace everybody, that should be something that every true-born, red-blooded Canadian should be going, you're fucking absolutely right, happy goddamn holidays.
Right. Let's not go into what it means to be a true-born Canadian.
No, but
a fucking can of worms.
The idea of like how the rest of the world sees Canada. Yeah. Like, oh, you guys are just fucking friendly.
Right. Fair enough.
Embrace that.
So this kind of, before Mickey gets into these facts here, I did that tap.
You did the table hit thing.
Yeah, for dramatic effect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's dramatic. I learned that in the school I didn't go to for this. I'm gonna bring it all in full circle with the Christmas thing and the holidays and all that shit. But it's like I just looked at my mom. Oh fuck! I forgot my point, guys.
Can't say.
I had a great point.
Merry Christmas.
I can't say fuck.
No.
Oh, I was going to say, we did a terrible job at that this entire podcast. 35. We got to delete all 36 episodes.
That could be maybe a future episode. Try not to swear for the whole episode.
Oh, God, we can't fucking do that.
0% interest in that bullshit.
No, I'm just like, right. She's for women's rights and abortions and all this. Like, she's very progressive, but she's getting pissed at the Merry Christmas thing. I'm like, where do you even stand? You do realize that you're on both sides of the fence now.
Right.
Yeah. You can't be on both sides of the fence. I mean, there really shouldn't be a fence.
Bingo.
But you're on both sides. So are you actually offended that you shouldn't, you kind of have to change what you're saying and stuff in public to people to be more accepting of everyone, or are you religious? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, I agree.
This is why I think it's so important to be able to have rational conversation about these things, because so many people, have heard me going off about one thing or another, so they're not comfortable to talk to me. Whatever, I'm forceful. That's fine.
I'm the same.
But
You can force yourself on me anytime.
It's not really forcing at this point. Oh my god!
But what I really want is good conversations with people, and I want to know what they believe, and I want to know why they believe it. And I think that, and I've said this about political affiliations too, I think that people believe 90 to 95% of the same things about human rights, about social issues, about the environment, about the economy. I think everybody's really on board. It's just, that extra 5 to 10%, that's what fucks it all up. And when you turn it into, for example, the Merry Christmas thing, obviously this doesn't really apply to your mom, but some people, this is a dig in issue.
Oh yeah.
This is the hill they will die on, and they will, because they're not going to win.
No, I know. Yeah.
So they're going to go down kicking and screaming and giving the government to the conservatives every year. For what? You haven't lost it. Say Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
They're not going to put you in cuffs for that. Say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
I saw, Mickey, remember we used to do the bank runs?
Yeah.
I was coming back from a bank run one time, grabbing coffee for everyone, and I'm standing in line, and the dude in front of me, and it was around Christmas time, it was mid-December, the dude in front of me came back. I hadn't really heard the conversation that had occurred, but he came back after getting his stuff and dropped everything on the counter. Not like dropped it, he didn't make a mess or anything.
Sure.
But he was like halfway bawling. He had tears in his eyes. And he's like, I don't want to shop here if you can't even say Merry Christmas to me instead of Happy Holidays. And it was like it was a little kid behind the fucking counter at Tim Hortons.
Oh, okay.
And the kid was just like, brr. And so the manager comes over and he's like, I'm sorry, sir, what's the problem? Turns out the kid hadn't said Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or anything. The guy, the customer, said Merry Christmas, and the kid just said, like, have a good day.
Yeah, because he doesn't see fucking 1,000 people a day.
And these are the people who will call, certain people snowflakes. And it's like, you are the most sensitive motherfuckers.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to dialogue with even that degree of irrationality. And that's why I'm always open to any conversations, because I think conversation is where you realize how similar we all are.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. Mickey, let's break it down.
So let's talk a little bit
That-
about world religion and what we're dealing with.
So right off the bat, because we started to talk about religion and politics, from 2013 to 2019, we're going to talk about expenditures, just real quick.
Okay.
In 2013, the UK spent $95 million on religious and other. Religion was like the key one, but also other community services. But the religion has a separate bank account with the government. Now,
Pause.
Yes.
UK has state religion.
I know, but that's what I mean. That's why I want this, how important it is for me to even just rationalize living on this planet anymore, to
Okay.
have this separation. Now, in 2019, it dropped to 78 million.
Okay.
So some things are changing. Essentially, like a lot of the research that I did was essentially religion is taking a hit.
Yeah.
Hard.
Oh yeah.
And people are just kind of going, like, and again, there was very minimal about spirituality, but essentially it was, I don't believe in your nonsensical jargon anymore. It's
Right.
stupid, and I don't agree with it. From the beginning, excuse the paper rattling, I apologize. Motherfucker, Sean. Oh, there we go. So, across the world, as of 2019, yeah, you can leave that down there.
All right.
Atheism, and I don't know why they put agnostic in there. I really had an issue with that. They put agnostic and atheist together.
I do too, but we can get to that later.
The world is 11.8%, believe.
Okay.
Now, there are certain countries that it's blowing up stupidly. For example, Uruguay, was one of the ones they said has the highest in the Americas, but the Czech Republic is almost half the population.
I'm actually shocked because South America is typically fairly Catholic.
Yeah. Across the world again, Buddhist, 7.2%, a lot lower than I thought it would be with today's climate. Christians, bombing 32.8%. Hindu, 13.8%. This was, I'll do the last one as a shocker. Muslims up 22.5%. Other is 11.8%, same as atheist. Apparently, the Jewish community makes up 0.2% of the world's religion.
Yeah, dude, there's no Jews.
I just thought it'd be much bigger. I don't know. Maybe I grew up around Jews.
The Jews have always been a minority population.
That's just it blew me away.
Did you say you grew up around Jews?
I must have, because I just that statistic. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. It just seemed like there have been so much more in my life. I guess.
Oh, okay. I've known very few actual Jews. So.
Yeah, it's just kind of startling to me. And then I went through a whole bunch of different media outlets. Washington Post, organized religion is losing its followers, claiming no religion has topped surveys in America.
Right.
Though it's interesting, in 1972, only 5% said that they weren't religious.
Right.
That's fucking, like, talk about times changing here. The Guardian, 2018, a 2015 figure shows Christianity was on the rise for a little bit. It went from, yeah. So things were going. Christianity was up. Muslims were up. Everything kind of just had a bit of a surge.
It's like we're talking stocks.
Yeah, really.
Islam is on the rise.
Invest.
But as they are going up, they actually say that by 2060, the Muslim faith will surpass the Christian faith.
Absolutely will.
And then apparently by 2030, China will house the most Christians. Which I thought was kind of interesting.
I believe that.
Places that you would think were highly religious that aren't so much anymore. In Scotland, surprisingly, 59% of people identify as non-religious.
That's not so. Hey, you ever been to Scotland? It's fucking cold and wet. And like, no,
I met some people from Scotland when I was in Florida one time, and they did not disappoint. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
One guy, we're at a family resort, and they pants this guy in the hot tub, and then proceeded to throw his bathing suit on the roof of the changing thing, and they were all smashed around, just like children. This guy's running naked around. It was just
Let's go.
Yeah, they're crazy. They were nice people.
The Scottish are very Scottish.
Yeah.
And then before we started recording, I felt proud I discovered a statistic website that apparently has been around for a fucking long time that I already knew about. But my God, I'm just kind of blown away by the work these guys do. It's pewresearch.org, PEW research.
They're like the standard for research polls. Big numbers of this thing at a national level.
Yeah,
or international.
It was amazing. And theirs, actually, as soon as I found them, I pretty much was like, fuck everything else. This is pretty fucking good. Because like I did that. I'd cross-reference, like, these guys have it. They know what they're doing. But in Canada, getting a little bit close to home, Christianity is on the decline. Most Canadians believe religious influence in public life is waning in their country, which I can very much see that. Like, constantly people don't feel so guilty for saying things that are not necessarily religiously okay or what have you.
Well, it's funny because there's two sides of that coin. There's people like us who will be like, good, religion's getting out of daily life. That's good, you know. Let it be a personal thing, but it's not so much in everyone's face. And then there's other people going like, oh, religion's going away. You know, it's the same phenomenon, but different reactions.
Yeah. When I read that, my first thought was religious influence waning. I thought people being influenced directly through people. And I know that there's someone's going to listen to this and go, oh, it's not on the decline. I was told the other day about my not believing in this, and I was chastised for it. Okay. Sorry, your one experience just disproved everything. And I just wanted to kind of do a Gad Said or Sad?
Yeah, Gad Said.
Gad Said. You know, Get your head out of the fucking sand, okay? Just because it happened to you doesn't mean it fucking isn't it on the planet. Anyways,
Of course. Well, it's like global warming isn't real because it's cold today.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not real.
20% of Canadians say that religion is very important to them in their lives, but 55% of Canadians are religious, which is I found really weird. Like it's just religion's not that super important to them.
That goes to something I could actually have been trying to write a book about for years,
Sure.
Which is essentially that people don't really believe as much as they say they believe.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what I was talking about. Like I don't think you actually believe what you say you do.
Yeah.
But they don't act like it either.
So like religion's almost like just like something they do. It's like, yeah, I do photography, I write some music, I do religion on Sundays.
Not even that, man. I think it's partly a label, it's partly a community, it's partly a little bit of culture.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like something they want to be involved in, but don't
okay.
necessarily follow. Like I'm a photographer. I'm not out there shooting 8 hours a day. I'm making no money, but I still reference myself as a photographer. Right?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Something like that.
Sure, yeah. But yeah, it's
like I'm religious and I love God and I go to church every Sunday, but I just sucked 4 dudes' penises.
Good for you.
Or
depending on your interpretation, that's completely fine.
No, do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like it's just like
yes.
Okay.
But that's what I mean. So there's a lot of people who would really call that an integral part of their identity who don't live like that.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. You should write that book.
I'm working. I have a name and like a title for the theory. Like if I ever got into like a college of philosophy or theology or something, like this would be my doctoral dissertation, and it would fucking hit. I know it would.
Yeah, if you ever write it.
Ouch.
Because earlier when I talked about the Czech Republic and their population being half non-denominational, there for the Europe forecast of religion. Essentially, so Christians down by 10%, Muslims up by 5%, but still a 55% difference, which I found very alarming because you hear, not alarming, excuse me, found interesting because media saying, Muslims here, Muslims there, Muslims this, and people are thinking, oh my God, they're going to take over the fucking world because, they're all closed-minded assholes. 55% difference in Europe still. That just seemed. I figured it'd be closer, just because of how many are just kind of. Because again, I'm not a geography major by any fucking stretch of the imagination. I had to actually see where the Middle East was on the continental. I'm like,
right,
they are in Asia. Okay, so that's why it was kind of astounding to me. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Dude, I did just to make you feel slightly better. I did the same thing the other day because like. The world is wild, man. Like sometimes I just like to look at maps.
Yeah,
sure.
I never realized Afghanistan actually touches Russia. I never knew that before.
Crazy, yeah.
Because it's all jammed in there, all weird, and Russia's so goddamn big.
Yeah.
But yeah, like like Russia goes into the whole Middle East.
What'd you just say?
What?
Blank dam? Don't you use it?
Fuck you.
No, yeah, I had to do that with Canada the other day. I forgot where it was on the map.
But after Islam going up by 5%, the unaffiliated are also up by 5%, which will actually surpass Islam by
that's
2050.
interesting.
Yeah.
Now, is that Europe or?
This is just Europe.
Oh, okay.
This is just Europe. Though Pew Research actually said that a big part of that is essentially people banging like crazy. I guess they're going to be going up 0.4%, and they think that's a big part of why people are unaffiliating themselves with religion, because the population is booming and so much influence is saying, don't be religious. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very curious to see how this is going to go because generally, this is all general, the people who remain religious in the Islamic tradition are not Native Canadians or are not more than max second generation Canadians.
Yeah.
Absolute max, right?
Yeah.
Because once you stick around and you assimilate a little bit, it goes away. It does. It goes away. It's not relevant to our fucking lives anymore.
No. It's, very much so. Now, Asia, I found, was actually quite interesting because, again, earlier I said that Christianity will eventually surpass. But I guess over there right now, it's a head-to-head between Hindus and Muslims. Which
Yeah.
it's all right there, right? But as of in 2010, Christians are only at 7%.
Only at what?
7%, which is weird that by 2050, they're going to house the most Christians.
You said Asia, though.
Yeah, but Asia's a big
You're right. I meant
continent, dog.
and here's
That's
me being
like
a fucking
India. That's fucking all the Middle East.
here's me
That's
being
a lot of
Pakistan.
different kinds
Here's me
of
being
cultures.
extremely white and said China
Yeah.
is Asia. Fuck me.
Yeah,
I hate
it's kind
myself.
of weird because China's Asia.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, I might as well just
All
fucking
right.
shoot myself.
Let's get a fucking globe in
But-
here.
So,
We should get one of those big fucking posters.
Oh,
Yeah.
you ever been to
globe.
Tallulah's? Tallulah Cafe?
Yeah.
That big fucking one. I love that.
You should look at it more.
Let's talk about a game today. Though this was, I found very interesting. As the decline is happening, it's not again because people are being born and being raised unaffiliated. They're actually switching. North America and Europe, the biggest change is the switching. But in Asia, they can't find enough information that points to people switching. They are religious and they stick with that religion. They don't feather.
Probably
or
because they
whatever.
like everything. I don't know. Yeah,
it-
I guess I don't know. Maybe it's just ingrained more into that. Like those, I think they have more of a rich background. Like they were. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like compared to Canada being 150 years old, like those are much older parts
right,
of the.
right.
Well, it's
Well,
again,
and even-
culture and religion, right?
Yes, exactly.
I learned something this week about Hinduism. So I guess the word for Hindu and India derive from the same word, which is Sindhu. So Sindhu. And the reason it became Hindu is because the Arab tribes who lived on the other side of the river in this specific region, don't ask me where, had a habit of switching their S's and H's. And that's actually like the linguistic root for why we call it Hindu in Hindi language and all of this shit.
Interesting.
Isn't that wild?
It's like
Yeah,
Texas.
that must have happened in China because that's Asia, right? I'm just fucking.
I hate my
I'm
life.
sorry.
Sorry, Mickey.
Oh,
It's all
man.
good.
But there, it's so old and so ingrained that it's very hard to dissever those things.
Now, okay,
ahead.
no, you go
Well,
because I got a completely separate thought that I
'Cause
just thought about.
Now, Gad said, back to him, because he talks about, he's Jewish, by the way, but he talks about Islam and the culture of Islam and it coming over to North America and how it's just kind of a mess right now because it's just so different. It's interesting that, Fresh, you said that it's so old and so ingrained, yet Islam is one of the younger religions, and yet it is so...
I was talking about Hinduism, bud.
I know. Did I say Hinduism?
No,
Now you're talking about Islam.
Yeah, now I'm just bringing out how you said with Hinduism, it's so old and so ingrained. Islam is one of the youngest religions, on the scale of it.
Yeah.
It's only 1,400 years old.
Very much so.
But you are seeing old school levels of faith in this young religion.
If I can make a point,
Absolutely.
there's an insecurity that comes with that youth. Aside from the Orthodox and the ultra Orthodox in the Jewish tradition, questioning is not even a bad thing, and you can be a cultural Jew and not really be practicing, and no one bats an eye. That's common. Wisdom and higher pursuits, like Jews have an. Remember what you said? Jews are like 0.2% of the population of the world, and that's probably cultural or ethnic Jews, not even religious practicing Jews, because there's so few of them. But they have like over half of the Nobel Prizes. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
It's the tradition, right? And Judaism is far more secure. Like, at the risk of generalizing something I'm not super well apprised of, Jews don't care if you don't like Judaism.
yeah,
On the whole, I mean, Islam has a direct prohibition on criticizing Islam and specifically the Prophet. it's very insecure.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't even know if I want to say
Kind of like
it.
guys who got to drive lifted trucks.
Islam is the guys who drive lifted trucks of world religion.
Perfect.
'Cause it's,
and the Jews drive like Mini Coopers or whatever.
Oh, dude, the Jews are driving
PT Cruisers?
Volts. And
They're driving
Tesla.
Volts in like 2010.
or riding
No.
bicycles.
They're doing something totally different.
Oh yeah,
So,
they're chilling.
just historically speaking, every religion seems to hate Jews for one reason or another. It seems they seem to be hating the most logical of them all.
I don't know anything about
So
Judaism.
again, you want to talk to a Christian about logic.
The
They're
rapper?
going to jump down your fucking throat and go, no, God this, God that. But again, like I said about Judaism, where it's like, the pursuit of knowledge and bettering yourself and just more logical thinking. You can be, like you said, you can be a non-practicing Jew, but no one will bat an eye. Everyone seems to hate the more logical thinking religion. Like, that's too logical. You're thinking too outwardly and not too inwardly and about God.
You're suggesting people hate the Jews because they're smart?
Yep.
I would stay far away from what you just said.
Well, I don't mean it necessarily in like a super, just historically speaking. It's just like, well, but why though? If they're just so all about constantly bettering everything, why are they shitting on them?
Ooh, that's a whole.
I know.
kettle of fish.
Today, yes, I know. We can see why, but I know again. I don't have a history major by all means. I know you go
Really?
back far enough.
Are you sure?
Thank you. But you go back far
Geography's
enough.
so good.
Double major.
Yeah, my geography is fantastic.
He's a
Yeah.
map maker, everyone.
You go back far enough, I understand why people hate each other because they fought over fucking specks of land. I get it.
Those were big specs back then.
I know, but it's just like, the Holy Land that, the Holy Land that. But like now here we are today, people are still seem to be not caring for them very much.
Okay, well, I don't
Again,
I have nothing to say because I don't know anything about it.
Again, minus what the obvious awfulness that's happening right now in the Middle East with the killings and the war. I get that. But everything up until that, it's like they're constantly fighting. But why? I want to know, what was was it always over land? Was there was a religious difference that they didn't like?
You're asking a question that has a 20-hour answer.
Yeah, let's.
and
another time.
I do know a little bit about it. There are ancient prejudices, and some people would suggest that some of that is on the Jews because they had this chosen people mentality.
Okay.
And it was sort of exclusionary. Judaism isn't necessarily welcoming. You can convert,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have a wide open door. Whereas Islam, in fact, does. Islam will take all comers. They want everybody.
Yeah.
And so does Christianity, for that matter. So it has been said, I am not saying, but it has been said that Jews basically kind of were, what's a cheap and easy way to put this, kind of haughty about themselves.
Okay.
And their position. Now, that is the sort of thing that would be said by the people who dislike them as a culture.
Okay.
And I'm not a Zionist, and I'm not an anti-Zionist, but they were scapegoated a lot over history just because they were a people who took care of themselves. Even in y'all ever read Merchant of Venice?
I have not.
Nope.
Okay, I will not use that example.
Perfect.
Anyway, the prosperity that Jews historically enjoyed, even in terrible circumstances, is also cultural. And the hate that they got for it became part of that culture because that goes back thousands of years too. Like the Jews during the Babylonian exile did quite well for themselves after they had been taken away from their homeland. And the Babylonians were just kind of like, fuck, these guys are good. So even though they hated them, they hated each other and everything, there was still an acknowledgement of that. And you can actually find that in the scriptural tradition.
That is just
but anyway,
so
I'm
amazing.
getting too far afield.
Fresh.
And the what?
Oh no, continue with your thought.
What I want to leave open here, because I know we're coming to the end of our time today, is the possibility for more conversations like this. more conversations with people who have their own perspectives, and I just enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. I just think that it's one of the best conversations you can have because you can create bonds and kick open doors and break down barriers.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to say a couple things.
Please.
Thank you for trying to save that huge mess that Mickey just made.
It was bad, eh?
It was it was like watching like the Titanic sink.
I was thinking on it.
You
from
know,
like,
the thing about the Jews is...
No, I was honestly just thinking about just kind of like taking a big step back and going, just looking at patterns,
Dude,
and that's like comical sense.
I thought I was in like a Family Guy episode.
So yeah, exactly, comical sense.
Also, okay. Two things I want to take. We'll probably have a part 2 on this topic, just because it's such a 4-part topic. I would like to get some guests in here,
Absolutely.
and have a healthy conversation. We need to get healthy, or people that can have a healthy conversation about that, because there are some that will not.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want 2 things. What's up, Molly?
Dogs, go lay down.
You guys are so cute.
Damn dogs.
Damn dogs.
Damn dogs. That's right. Lay on
Bye-bye.
Mickey's fact sheets. They're
Down.
shit anyway. I'm just kidding, Mickey. I liked your facts, actually.
Oh, thank you.
No, it's interesting to note those things.
So
and
do
I,
you guys-
I do have commentary on them, but sorry. go ahead, bud.
Speaking on facts, this is the only commentary I had.
Sure.
Noticing these numbers fluctuate. Do you think one day it'll all just drop and then we'll find all the truths and make a world religion?
No.
Okay, cool. Neither did I. I just thought that was pretty cool to think about, though.
Christopher Hitchens is not necessarily where I take all my viewpoints from, but has certainly helped illuminate them. And one of the things he said when asked, so you just want to wave a wand and make the whole world atheists like you? And he said, no, because first of all, it's not realistic, and second of all, it's people's favorite toy. They can't stop playing with it. You can't take it away from them. And in an intellectual sense, that's true. You know, there's a philosophical term called the God of the gaps, and this basically means that anything you can't explain, you put a supernatural label on.
Sure.
That's been
Pyramids, aliens.
Sure. Yeah. That's been pushed back so much by science and just the march of progress. But it's still there in a lot of ways. I heard a fucking fascinating thing the other day. This was one of those sentences that like changed how I look at things. So there's something called the fine-tuning argument, and without getting too far into details, because it's going to boil the fuck out of you guys, it's essentially one of the arguments for biblical type creation, saying that there has to be a God because the universe is fine-tuned to allow our life. The cosmological constants, basically physics, that allow us to exist are so frail that even the most minute change, we statistically, based on probability, we shouldn't even fucking exist, right? Which I think is a complete fallacy. Because basically, I think they have it exactly backwards.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah,
we don't exist because something wanted it to exist, so it made it for us. We exist because we are what could exist in the universe that exists.
Right.
We are the result of the existent universe.
I was going to comment on that exact point.
Right. But anyway, so this is an argument that convinces a lot of fucking people. A lot of people, this fine-tuning argument, as they call it. So this is all about probability and whatnot. And then I heard a thing today that said, wouldn't probability change with more information?
Fuck.
And I was like, whoa. Yeah. Like, if we were to better understand the universe, maybe that statistical improbability of our own existence, maybe that would plummet. Maybe we would become almost likely,
Right.
And that's like, what the fuck,
That
right?
hurt. That hurt for a second. I feel like a new lobe just developed on my brain.
Man. And like I said, fine-tuning has never been persuasive to me anyway, but like, damn.
Yeah.
I thought that was good.
Yeah. You want to? Okay, so for my final second closing thing. No. I appreciate
Sorry,
all
bro.
that.
I get excited about this shit.
No, that's cool. I wanted to I don't know if you've ever read anything, but Rene Descartes.
Oh yeah, I know.
Have you read him?
Oh yeah,
the known dualism theory and the separation between the mind and the body went on to influence subsequent. That's the word. Western philosophies in meditations on first philosophy. Descartes attempted to demonstrate the existence of God and the distinction between the human soul and the body. You should read that, Mickey. Yeah. I think you would really, really like some of his work. He was one of the more interesting philosophers I got into.
Descartes, he's cool.
Near the end, like when I stopped reading, which I would kind of wish it was the first, because the first ones really did a number on my mind.
Yeah. Well, all of these guys have other jobs too. Like Descartes was a mathematician.
Yes,
and
he's
deserves
known for
his acclaim for that.
Yeah.
Algebra, geometry, things like that. But like Plato and a lot of these things, man. Anyway, you were talking about that, and he jumped in my mind, and we were talking about the soul and all that shit. So anyway, we were talking about ancient religions too.
Yep.
Like ingrained religion and so coming to the new world where Christianity is pretty much taken over from something that was already there.
Right.
That part that interests me is the way like the indigenous people of this land lived before and what they believed in. I want to dig way more into that. That's super interesting to me.
Well, I mean, obviously, I have a way that we could do that.
Yeah, I do.
Very true.
I am also going to do some background on myself because I know my grandfather had like a lot of indigenous blood in him. So I don't know how much per se, like if he was half. But I know there's definitely some. I want to know. Anyway, that little experience I had, and that was like the most spiritual religious experience I've had in a long time. Really kind of opened my mind to exploring that realm. Like I want to know what the ancient ways were here before it kind of all just kind of went bye-bye.
So I have had this discussion with my partner who is indigenous and while doesn't necessarily practice those traditions in a religious way, she grew up Catholic, is interested in them at least culturally and wants to try to adopt them. She likes them. She thinks they feel better, more holistic, as you say.
Full circle.
But I asked, because she not necessarily took offense, but took exception to some of the things I said about religious tradition at large, and expected some sort of caveat for indigenous religions. And I said, why? It's still religion. It's still not really based on anything. And then we got into how these were sort of ancient and unevolved. I'm going to use this word, but I don't mean it in an insulting way. Unsophisticated, in that I mean they haven't been brought up in the Western philosophical tradition to be qualified in all these ways. You know?
They don't have hundreds of millions of dollars to build these giant fucking places of worship and stuff like that.
More like they don't have hundreds of millions of dollars for people to write books about and explain them. And pair them with science. And, but still the same point, really.
Right, okay.
And I said, basically, and again, no offense at all intended, but these things, as we can understand them today, they still look like they did hundreds of years ago. And so my question was more or less, why didn't they grow up? Why didn't these religious traditions grow up? And her point was, and this fucking knocked me on my ass, she's always got something good, was they didn't get to.
Oh. Yeah, I was just about
white people came in and steamrolled the civilization, and it was just this desperate fight for survival. Right. So there was never a chance. And who knows what Native American indigenous culture might have looked like if it hadn't been invaded and steamrolled and had just sort of grown up with the rest of the world. I don't think that you can really simplify that, because so much of the world's traditions and how we understand them now are based on colonization, and you can't untangle that. It's just not possible.
It is not possible. Yeah.
But that's why that happened. That's why you can have a textual history of Christianity and all its denominations almost from the very start. But that just doesn't exist for these religions. It's because we fucking killed all the people. Like,
Yeah.
There's no one to ask.
But you know what? It was really I brought that up for a reason because it was the sneak peek. I kind of got into that world. It was so weird because like, you know me, I am not one to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to that group thing that's like of any spiritual kind. Like we're not going to hanging out with like the volleyball thing. Like I was already just not cool. With
that was weird. On
anyway, so like I would normally do this, and I'm very glad I had to do it. I was placed in that position because it was like the most welcoming place I've ever felt. Like I felt welcomed. Like I felt like we were all. It was weird. Anyway, so the sneak peek I got into it was it was enough for me to like be like, I wonder what it would have been like, or at least if they would have grown up, or just because it's so different. It's so different from what I got, and I got like a 0.1%, sneak peek into it, and there's all these different things, and I'm very interested now.
But it is interesting to think, like, what if that tradition had been allowed to come into its own in the modern age,
right? Or did it have to even grow up?
Yeah, I guess
because I don't know enough about it. Is it such a simple thing, and how you live your life and blah blah blah, whatever,
that maybe it wouldn't have changed?
Maybe it was just that simple.
Could you then look at Mennonites and the Amish who refuse to grow up?
Yeah, that's a specific rejection.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
something different.
Now, I don't know if we're kind of coming to the closing, but I have a question for you guys, and if it'll help, I'll answer it. What?
Oh, great.
Well, I'll start it off.
Yeah.
What do you guys think was the point for you that you denounced all religion? Like, forget it. It's not for me. So, more so traditional. Talk about traditional Christianity and blah, blah, blah. If you got something, go ahead.
No?
Go. For me, and it's always been sort of part of my mind, obviously the logic, but for me, it's all the bad things that happen, and yet people still believe in a God that will do good things. It's like, are you... I'm kind of taking a big Steve Fry approach to this with his...
man.
Fuck, right. But with his approach to God. And there's this one little interview. It's like a 2.5 minute clip, and it that resonated in me. And a gentleman asked him, so Steve Fry is dead, he goes to the pearly gates, what are you going to say to God? And his first response was, bone cancer in children. What's with that? But that fucking resonated in me because he goes like, yes, we live in this world with all this splendor, but how dare you create a world, create an existence with so much injustice and suffering, and for what? And that resonated because, again, I don't care about the God's plan, whatever. But even from a young age, I'm going, there's a lot of bad stuff in the world. This isn't okay. And then as I grew up, I'm kind of going like, yeah, I'm already kind of not doing this thing. But there have been times in my life where I've hit some fucking lows where I'm going, maybe a religion is the thing for me. Maybe I need that to uplift me. And then I just thought about like, no, there's too much bad allowed by this supposed God for me to ever think this was logical or something to follow.
Fair enough.
For me, that was my going, fuck it.
And how old were you at that point?
I was probably in high school. Like, I'll be honest. Like, because as a kid, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I'm not being taught. Why should I care? But then when it came down to it, when I started meeting people, like actual people who are starting to develop themselves, and like, oh, God, this, God, this. And I start questioning it, and then I'm going, nope, it's not there.
I'll go next.
Please.
I'm weird. I've just talking in this episode has made me realize that I'm weird in this sense. But okay, on the bad things happening and the bone cancer in children, it's like, okay, you're right. Why would that exist? But at the same time, I do believe everything has an opposite and everything has a balance, like night and day. And there's reasons for night and there's reasons for day. We'll just use those because it's very clear. The yin and the yang, the good and the bad. You know what I mean? Most things do have an opposite, matter, antimatter. Yeah.
I'm really interested to see where this is going.
Right? So, like karma, good karma, bad karma, good energy, bad energy. This is where my brain goes. This is not necessarily what I believe. I'm just saying this is one of my random thoughts. And it's like, what if karma's a thing? And if, a soul is actually a physical thing and it gets reincarnated and kept being used over and there's no memory, and karma's a thing. So what if people who did bad in a previous life gain bad karma or bad energy. And when they're reborn, not like they're maybe they're a child and they get bone disease because that bad energy in a previous life, since it's the same soul, is now coming back. Not saying that's like a thing I believe, but I'm just saying, what if that's the way of the universe balancing itself out? So that bad, like say you were a murderer and you killed 20 people, right? And then you got executed. And then you were reborn and you're a kid and you're the cutest little kid, but your soul is actually this really bad person in a previous life. And all of a sudden you get this insanely painful bone disease when you're 8 and you die when you're 12.
That's the Hindu model.
Right? Is that? I don't know.
Okay.
See, these are the things I do. Lately I've been wanting to read these, all of them, all the religions, because I want to know now.
So was an information outside your detachment from traditional religion?
No, that was a personal thought that I was not really influenced by any outside influence, because I didn't know, like maybe it's Hindu, like I don't know, I'd never read it, so that was just something I thought of. So the bad things happening to people and kids, that automatically wasn't what it did for me. Growing up, this is the really weird part, there was never a time. I just never believed.
Right.
From the fucking get-go.
Right.
I never believed. I cannot recall someone would tell me when I was a child to pray for someone and I wouldn't, because it did not make any sense to me.
Right.
So I just kind of grew up thinking I watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z.
Amen.
Watched a lot of Pokemon. I had hopes that one day I was going to be, listen, like last night, like there's hopes that I would go into a field and I'd see a Pikachu when I was a child, right? So I always lived my life like anything is possible. And I applied that to God. I applied that to no God. I applied that to flying spaghetti monster. I applied that to, that's an actual religion.
How did we go through this whole thing without bringing that up yet?
Dawkins, I know.
Yeah, okay, I know. You didn't even give me a little fucking chuckle. I usually get a chuckle for a shit joke.
Sorry, buddy.
Anyway, so to answer your question, none of those thoughts kind of, it just never happened
You
for
just
me.
never had it.
It's
totally
weird.
fine.
It's really,
Yeah.
it's kind of almost an unsettling feeling now that we're talking about this. I kind of wish I had that point.
Sorry.
But that's the beauty of it, man, is we're having this conversation, and I hope we have it further, and we can think these thoughts out, you know?
Yeah.
And you can read or don't, or, you know, whatever. See, the thing is, a very brief aside before I give you my answer, is we don't believe things because they might not be not false. I know that was a confusing statement. But we believe them because there are good reasons to do so. On average, on a daily basis, right? And so people say things like, you know, they'll take that from like, so let's start at the basic. Is the sun going to come up tomorrow? Yes. Yes, it is.
I don't know.
How certain are you? I'm pretty fucking certain, because that's what's always happened, right? So I've got a reason to believe that.
Yeah.
Then people will take that a little further. Do you believe that your wife loves you? Okay, well, yeah, because I have a certain reasonable amount of trust, and I believe what she says, et cetera, et cetera. You can take that. But they'll say, do you believe your wife loves you? Do you believe God exists? As if they're the same question, as if it's the same thing. But do you believe God exists is a massively impactful question with a shit ton of potential implications, right? If you can, again, this is another Hitchensism, that which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence, right?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and it's sort of simple, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope.
But it is really, right?
No, it is.
If someone just
It's
throws some
extremely
shit
simple.
at you, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's like,
You know, my mom said this to me the other day. I didn't realize how long I'd been doing this, but we were having dinner, and of course she's telling embarrassing childhood stories to my girlfriend, and she's just like, yeah, he always just said, why to everything. I didn't realize I've been doing that my whole fucking life. Like, I always wanted to know the answer, right? And that's really it. So, like, why? Why do I believe this thing? Okay, that's cool. You said it. Okay, that's cool. You believe it. Why should I believe it?
right.
Right?
Show me why.
Show me why. And I just don't think there's any reason to do so. But after all my study, after realizing I didn't think any of this made sense, the thing that really kicked it out the door for me was something called theodicy, or the problem of evil, as it's known in theological study. And it essentially comes down to like, why does evil exist, or why do bad things exist, right? So Epicurus, who was a Greek philosopher and a Stoic, our old friends.
Stoics.
Yeah, baby. I've been getting back to that too.
That's good. I
Yeah.
should get into something.
Indeed.
.com.
So he had this, Jesus, he had this this axiom: is God willing to prevent evil but not able? Then he's not omnipotent. Is he able but not willing? Then he's malevolent. He's a dick. Is he both able and willing? Then where does evil come from? Right? Mm-hmm. And if he's not able and willing, then he's not God. Now, I think there are ways to poke holes in this, but it mostly holds up.
Yeah, that's probably one of the better ones I've heard.
But how I understood it was through the lens of my mom's cancer as a kid. Because again, I tried. I thought I was being a good kid, and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And it just, eventually, there was no anything for me in religion anymore, because the only thing I had ever asked from it couldn't do for me, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's an all-powerful God. You are all-powerful, and you are completely good, and you are making my mom suffer this horrific pain. Fuck you.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to say it until a book that I read in my early 20s. It was by Bart Ehrman, and it's the same issue. It's the same problem, but he clarified it a little differently. And his point was about saying grace. Saying grace is a fine thing. You're thankful. Cool, we got a meal. And honestly, I still think it's good to say grace, but I would thank like the farmers, you know,
Right.
or something like that. I'm sure there's probably an indigenous tradition that
Probably.
thanks the earth. And I'm cool with thanking the earth. I'm cool with thanking the sun,
Yes.
you know?
I like the way you did though. Yeah, we got a meal. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's eat.
Yeah.
But to thank an all-powerful God for a meal is to also thank that God for everyone who goes starving that night. Thank you for making this condition that I am able to eat, and also that everyone else suffers.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
I mean,
There's nothing there to believe.
No, there's nothing. And to go back to it, you said the UK spent $98 million on
Something like that. 93.
fucking spend it on food to feed people.
And there's a lot of people who will say that that's a unsophisticated understanding, and that I need to revise my theology. But at that point, I just say, how many fucking backflips are you willing to make for your God? You know, they'll get into the free will argument, which is completely not supported by theology anyway, by scripture. And all of this fucking bullshit. But like, really, there's already no reason to believe it. And by that, I mean no proof positive. So why are you trying to make exceptions for this thing that is, at least morally and ethically, just terrible, terrible, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what is there for you? And that was the point when I knew I I was never coming back to this.
Fair enough.
So that's me.
Got deep.
Yeah, man. Religion always gets deep.
As it does. But I like it. And I also understand a lot of what people see in it. Like, I love religious music. I love religious buildings. Obviously, I love religious history. I'm studying the text. I just started my study of Hinduism. Like, I'm into all of this because it talks about people.
Right.
What I'm just not willing to say is that there's any supernatural power. I just think it's silly.
Fair enough.
I went to black church once.
Oh,
dang.
I was in New Orleans.
what was that?
Yeah. I left my family wandering around the French Quarter. I might have been a little tipsy.
A little bit.
And I went into this building, this big old church. I didn't. It's a very famous church, but I didn't know where I was really. I was lost.
He was in New Orleans.
I was in New Orleans. And I sat in this pew. I'm just taking a few pictures, and I just wanted to kind of sit and soak it up because, like I said, I guess that's my spirituality, is I like to absorb, I like to learn, I like to feel things out. And then suddenly I turned around, and the whole goddamn building was full. And this was in December. This is almost exactly 5 years ago.
Wow.
so they were doing Christmas services every single day. And I literally couldn't get out. The place had been jam packed, and I kind of just had not noticed. And I'm right up front, and they get into it, and it's just like, I mean, Black church is the best church if there has to be one.
Right.
At least in terms of the ceremony.
Sure. Because
the lady, she points to me, she's like, "All right, get on up, put your hands together." And I was like, "Oh fuck, I better," so I'm like goddamn hands together. And that was great, but like, it doesn't mean it's true or anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you guys down for some Samoa this?
Samo?
I think
Yeah.
we have to.
Yeah, I think we got to. I mean, there's some things I want to touch on, and I'm sure there's lots that you want to touch on, and I'm sure there's like one thing Mickey wants to touch on or something
it's
like.
Probably going to go horribly
Probably
wrong.
just going to offend
Probably.
everybody.
Yeah. But yeah, for sure, we'll get a part 2 in there.
It was the Jews this time. It'll be the blacks next time.
Maybe we can get someone in here.
Oh no, sorry, it was the Chinese first, and then the Jews very shortly after that.
It was no, all of Asia.
Fucking hell.
All of Asia first.
Not a good Mickey
Which
day,
is
man.
just the Chinese, right?
Fuck.
All right, fellas. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah, yep. Slick.
Just be kind to the earth.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got no fucking I don't know where I stand with anything.
Okay. No, I
Other
respect
than just
that.
like living my life. I
don't
guess,
know
yeah.
is a very reasonable position, and I respect that a lot.
Fair enough.
The only thing I have to say is check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Fresh Slick and Mick, at everything Fresh Slick ANDMICK. If you want to tell us how wrong we are about everything, it's freshslickandmick@gmail.com. Drop us a comment, drop us that email. Check us out on the socials. We are on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, whatever. Check us out. Come join the movement, or just hate us.
And tell your friends.
But definitely tell your friends.
Tell your friends and your mom.
Yeah, thanks for riding with us, everybody. We'll be back.